Wisconsin, Scott Walker. Governors, welcome back to Meet the Press, both of you.
Glad to be back.
Good to be with you, David.
Both states are pretty tight here. Pretty remarkable that Wisconsin is tight as well. That's good news for Romney. A Republican hasn't won your state governor since 1984. And in Colorado, Governor Hickenlooper, look at our latest polling from NBC News and Marist. 48-48. I know from talking to the Obama campaign, they think it's not that close. They think they have an edge, but they're going to be out there. They know it's tight. Governor Walker, for you as well, the defining issue here that determines the outcome in your state.
Well, it's certainly about jobs. In our case, elections are fundamentally about the future, not about the past. So I think people a few weeks back on that night in Denver, in John's state, outside of his hometown there, when voters got to see that Mitt Romney had a plan and the president didn't, and now in the last few days he's trying to gloss that over with a 20-page glossy document. He doesn't have a plan. Mitt Romney does. In fact, just yesterday as I was traveling the state, there were literally farmers out in fields that had almost like a Burma Shave commercial where they had one sign after another that listed out the 5 points of his plan. People want to know how they're going to get working again, whether it's in Janesville or Green Bay or Wausau or Milwaukee or Superior. They want to know how we're going to get working again. I think it was very clear after that debate. We saw record numbers of volunteers coming into the campaign offices, and more importantly, we saw the biggest jump in the polls in Wisconsin after people saw the difference in that first debate.
I want to ask you both about the experiences you've had in your states dealing with the other side, the party on the other side, and how you think that may be instructive to Washington in a new Congress, in a new administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat. Governor Walker, let me start with you. When it comes to balancing the budget, is it really acceptable for Governor Romney to go to Washington if it comes to that and say, well, through tax reform largely, I'm going to balance the budget, or through tax cuts, we're going to grow our way into this? Is that an appropriately balanced approach to solving this problem?
Well, I think more than anything, what people want is action. They want results. They look at the problem. I mean, I think about my wife, Tonette, and I looking at our two kids, one who's a freshman in college, the other's a senior in high school. And we worry tremendously that 4 years from now, they're not going to have an opportunity when they get out of college to have a job. We worry tremendously, not just about 4 years from now, but years after that, if our kids get married and have kids of their own, that our grandkids won't be able to inherit the kind of America that we grew up in because of the massive debt out there. And so people want results. I think voters,
right, but I'm asking you how you get to results, Governor.
Want results.
I'm asking you how you get there.
What's that?
I mean, you have a candidate who's rejected a 10-to-1 spending cut to revenue increasing formula. Does that jibe with you as you having to navigate some tough circumstances in your own
Sure.
state? Is that a way to run Washington?
In Wisconsin's case, like Kasich and others did around the country, we lowered the overall tax burden. In fact, we lowered property taxes for the first time in 12 years. Our overall burden went down and revenues went up. Why? Because we promoted more growth. We went from a few years ago having 9.2% unemployment down to 7.3% today. We went from losing hundreds of thousands of jobs to gaining jobs out there. Why? Because you've got to have a pro-growth agenda out there. When you do, that will help Washington grow in the right direction. That'll put more people to work. And when more people are working, that'll help us balance the economy as well.
Well, let me ask you both. It's striking to me what we have not been debating.
Just on that one point,
Yeah, go ahead, Governor.
I was just saying, just to that point real briefly, remember, both of us are governors here. Mitt Romney is a governor in a state where 85% of the legislature was Democrat-controlled, and yet he balanced the budget, did it without raising taxes in a way that helped create more jobs. So I think, per your point, he's proven he can do it in a state like Massachusetts. I think he can do it for America.
Governor Walker, how do you respond to that? Why not more of a debate about this? It's been virtually absent.
Well, in our case, at least in the recent tragedy we had in Wisconsin, we did a greater focus, and I think it's something that Republicans and Democrats can agree on, a greater focus on tightening up domestic violence laws, because that's where our biggest problem was in our recent tragedy here in the state of Wisconsin. We didn't do enough in this state, apparently, at least at the local level, to adequately enforce those laws. We didn't do enough to stand up for domestic violence victims in our state at the local level. We need to do more of that, and that's something that I think isn't a partisan issue, and it's certainly something that at the federal, the state, and at the local level needs to be highlighted.
All right, we're going to leave it there. We'll be watching both your states very closely in the days up to Election Day. Thanks, governors, to both of you.
Thank you.